Hello, and thank you for joining me. I'm Chuck Jones, and it's my pleasure to welcome you here today. I'm standing at Ritz Camera's repair facility in Beltsville, Maryland, and this is where our customers with the expanded service policies have their cameras repaired. Today, I want to talk about value. What is value? You hear it all the time, practically every time you look at a newspaper, watch television, or listen to the radio. Super value, extra value, mega value. Sometimes when you use a word over and over again, it tends to lose a little of its meaning and significance. When you talk about value, we need to forget the buzzword. Today, when we talk about value, we're not talking about 30% more fries or buy one, get one free. We're talking about memories. Can you place a value on that? If you tried, I guess the word priceless comes to mind. Customers come to Ritz Camera because we're able to offer them products and services the others can't, be it our crystal photo finishing, our frequent photo club, or our very unique expanded service policy. Some of you might think that the expanded service policy is a very difficult product to sell. Usually when an associate finds the ESP difficult to sell, it's because they can't see the value in it. They only see it as a red and white piece of paper rather than a valuable necessity for their customers. The one thing you've got to remember is that if you can't see the value, your customer can't either. I've brought some letters to share with you today. These letters are from some very satisfied customers who recognize the value of our expanded service policy. As Mr. George Parker from Chicago states, "Dear Ritz Camera, about 2 years ago I purchased a camera from your store in the Orland Mall. Last week the flash
stopped working. Boy, was I upset. I thought, great, now I have to spend a few $100s on a new camera. To say the least, I was not very happy. My wife, however, reminded me that when I purchased the camera, I also took advantage of your expanded service policy. The next day, I took the camera back to Orland Mall. To be honest with you, I was expecting this to be a hassle. In the past, when I brought defective merchandise back to other places, it was always a problem. I walked into the store, handed the person behind the counter my ESP form, and told him that my camera wouldn't flash. Okay, I thought, here it comes. Sorry, Mr. Parker, the ESP doesn't cover a broken flash. Instead, I was told, no problem, Mr. Parker. Your expanded service policy covers all defects in material or workmanship. That includes any manufacturer's defects. The salesperson took some information and promised to call me when my camera was ready. 3 weeks later, he called to say that my camera was back and good as new. And it was. It seems that more and more often, a company doesn't stand behind their guarantees. You did, and because of that, I have my camera back, and it's better than ever. Thank you very much, Ritz Camera. Peter Parker.
Do you think Mr. Parker sees the value in our damage protection plan? I think he does. The associate who sold him the ESP certainly believed in the product and its value. Ritz Camera goes to great lengths to ensure that the products on the shelves are the best available. However, sometimes things go wrong for no apparent reason. The damage protection plan safeguards your customer's equipment up to 5 years against defects in materials and workmanship. If your customer's equipment malfunctions, it will be repaired or at the repair department's discretion, replaced at no charge. Just think about not having to pay for repairs for up to 5 years. It would be great for your customers to have one less thing to worry about, wouldn't it? Sometimes, like it or not, accidents do happen. We live in such a fast-paced, hectic world that occasionally we forget things. And as a result, situations like this happen. Dear Mr. Ritz, last month I bought a
tripod from your store on Main Street. My friends and I planned a camping trip, and I wanted to take some nature photographs. I went into your store to buy some film, and the gentleman behind the counter, Bob, suggested that a tripod would help with my pictures. He showed me several, and I decided on the Quantaray 500. As per normal, I was in a rush packing up my car to meet my friends. I didn't realize that the tripod never made it into the trunk. In fact, it remained on the ground behind my car. As soon as I backed out of the driveway, I heard a terrible crunch and immediately realized what had just happened. I had just run over my new tripod. Needless to say, I was upset. I thought there's no way that this can be fixed. When I got home, I called Bob and told him what had happened. He reminded me that when I purchased the tripod, I took advantage of your damage protection program. I told him that the tripod wasn't defective and that I damaged it. He said that ESP covers wear and tear from normal or abnormal use, including unintentional abuse. The next morning, I took the tripod back to Ritz. Bob wrote up a repair ticket, and 2 weeks later, I got a new tripod, just like that. In the future, I'm going to pay a lot closer attention when I pack up my car, but it's great to know that just in case, Ritz Camera will be there for me. Sincerely, Barbara Gordon.
Nobody plans on abusing their equipment, but let's face it, nobody buys items from you and then puts them behind glass displays. Accidents happen. But having an ESP makes those accidents not so bad. Your customers will have the peace of mind to use their equipment in situations where they never would have before. Think about the endless possibilities for your customers with no worry. That's very valuable, isn't it? Seems like nowadays almost everybody has some sort of extended coverage in almost anything. Well, Ritz Camera's not everybody. We like to be different. Most extended warranties only prolong the manufacturer's coverage. Our damage protection plan, on the other hand, gives your customer complete coverage, including damage caused by the effects of shock or trauma. Nobody ever expects to drop their camera or camcorder, but just in case it does happen, your customer's valuable equipment will be repaired, no charge, no questions. A day at the beach. Sun, fun, sand, and water. Perfect place to capture some memories. All too often, though, your customers won't take their cameras or camcorders to the beach. They're afraid of what the sand and water can do to their valuable equipment. Unfortunately, Mr. Robert Wagner of Philadelphia found out just how damaging a day at the beach can be. In his letter, he says, "Dear Mr. Ritz, as we do each year,
my family and I spend a week at the beach. We have been doing this every year since we got married. This year was no different. On the particular day in question, we got to the beach early and set up our stuff. After relaxing for a while, my wife and I decided to play a game of cards. Our son and daughter were building castles and burying all of their toys in the sand. Unbeknownst to my wife and I, it seems that our kids mistook our cameras for their toys. By the time I looked over, not only had they dragged the cameras through the water and sand, but they had buried them about a foot down as well. I knew right then and there that our cameras were ruined. Normally, I would have been very upset. After all, a camera is not a cheap investment. Generally, I'm not in the habit of purchasing extended warranties on products. But when I bought my camera from your store in the downtown shopping center, the salesman explained to me that this was not an extended warranty. It was a damage protection plan. He said that this plan would protect my camera in case something unpredictable happened. Well, sure enough, something did. When we got home, my wife took the camera, sand and all, into our Ritz Camera store. No questions asked. They took it and told me not to worry. Within a few weeks, my camera would be as good as new, and they were right. It turns out that my camera was beyond economical repair, so they replaced it with another camera, just like that. I still don't believe in extended warranties, but I am a believer in your damage protection plans. Thanks again, Robert Wagner."
Think about the reasons people purchase photographic equipment from you. Number one reason, vacations. People purchase cameras to use them. If they're afraid of sand or water damage, the camera sits in a hotel room, memories are lost. Ritz Camera's damage protection plan offers your customers complete protection against the effects of fresh, salt, or brackish water. So Ritz Camera will repair or at their discretion replace any damage caused by water or sand. So your customers can sit back, relax, without worrying about missing those once-in-a-lifetime memories. You really can't put a price on that, can you? Well, are you seeing the value yet? So far, we've learned that the Ritz Camera Damage Protection Plan safeguards your customers' valuable equipment from defects in materials and workmanship, wear and tear from normal or abnormal use, including unintentional abuse, effects of shock or trauma, effects of fresh salt or brackish water. Even if we stopped here, the ESP would be without a doubt a vital necessity for our customers. But we're not quite through yet. Thankfully for Mrs. Mary Harris of Minneapolis, Minnesota, the ESP covers a few more things. Dear Mr. Ritz, in May I bought my daughter a camera before she left for summer camp.
When I told the salesperson in your Mega Mall store that this was for a teenager, he educated me about your damage protection plan. I consider my daughter very responsible for her age, but when I saw the repair cost for the camera, it made sense to purchase the 5-year plan. The summer came and went, and the camera returned home without a scratch. Oh well, I thought, sometime in the next 4 years and 8 months, something might go wrong. I didn't realize how correct I was. The day after returning home, my daughter was looking through all her camp pictures, beautifully developed at Ritz, I might add. At the same time, she was talking on the phone and polishing her nails. Well, somehow, the nail polish remover ended up on the camera. My daughter came running downstairs, very upset. Her camera had survived camping and canoeing, but was ruined by some nail polish remover. We went right over to the Mega Mall store. I showed the salesperson my damage protection plan, and that was all. He wrote down some information and promised that the camera would be as good as new. A few weeks later, we got a call that it was ready. The camera is better than ever, and my daughter is no longer allowed to polish her nails in bed. Thanks for the teen-proof guarantee, Teresa Michael.
Oh no! Uh-oh!
Oh no! Bad dog! You never know what the future might bring. That's why all of your customers' valuable equipment should be covered by the Ritz Camera Damage Protection Plan. The Ritz Camera Damage Protection Plan allows you to alleviate your customers' fears about the possibility of catastrophic damage to their valuable photographic equipment. With the Damage Protection Plan, your customers will never need to worry about mechanical malfunction, accidental damage, liquid damage, even damage caused by their own negligence. Look over the policy. There's no small print. Your customer is completely covered against virtually anything that might happen, from being dropped in a fish tank to being trampled by a herd of elephants. If your customer's equipment ever needs service, they bring it to you. You write it up and send it out. In a few weeks, your customer's equipment is returned to your store. Good as new. It's that simple. But wait, there's more. Not only is the Damage Protection Plan an incredible value for your customers, it's also an incredible value for you. For every year of damage protection you sell, you earn $1. Sell 5 years, earn $5. 4 years, $4, and so on. The more you sell, the more you earn. What could be easier? The Ritz Camera Damage Protection Plan. Ask for it by name.
By now, you should be convinced that the Ritz Camera Damage Protection Plan is an excellent value for your customers. In its simplest terms, being successful in selling the Damage Protection Plan is all a matter of attitude. Enthusiasm and excitement is contagious. If you're excited about the Damage Protection Plan, your customers will be too. It's vital that you look and listen for clues to help introduce the Damage Protection Plan early in the sale. Did your customer happen to mention an upcoming vacation? Do they have kids? Did they bring in a damaged camera or camcorder? Your customer will provide all the information you need to introduce the plan. Your job is to plant a seed into the customer's mind early in the sale. Mention the Damage Protection Plan and then go on with your presentation. Then paint a picture in the customer's mind. Use all the information gathered up to this point to vividly describe how the Damage Protection Plan is going to benefit them, like taking their camera or camcorder to the beach. You're not selling a red and white piece of paper, you're selling peace of mind. You know the value of the damage protection plan. Now it's your job to show your customer the value in it. The easiest way is to show the cost of a repair. That makes the damage protection plan a small investment. Okay, you've got a great attitude. You've picked up on all the verbal and visual clues that your customer has given you. You've planted the damage protection plan seed into your customer's mind by mentioning it early in the sale, and you've painted a vividly clear picture about how having a damage protection plan will benefit the customer. Well, what's next? You have to ask for the sale. Start with 5 years first. If your customer doesn't want to commit to 5 years or they can't afford 5 years, you can always go down to a 3-year plan. If the customer doesn't want to commit to a 3-year plan or they can't afford that, then you can always go down to a 1-year ESP with the option for your customer to renew it every year for up to 5 years. If you start with a 1-year plan and they say no, you have nowhere to go. If the customer says yes, then you write it up. If the customer says no or raises some sort of objection, it's your job to overcome that objection. What types of objections might your customers have? Well, we went out into our stores and we asked several Ritz associates what are the common objections they hear from customers. Then we gathered a group of experts together and we wanted to see if they could come up with ways to overcome these objections. Let's hear what they have to say.
A lot of people don't want it because they think that that warranty they get with the manufacturer is going to repair things that are their fault, and they think it's just extra money that they're never going to use and see again into good use.
The most common objection you hear when presenting the damage protection is the customer assuming that it is an extension of the manufacturer's warranty as opposed to covering any damage.
A lot of people think that the manufacturer's warranty is good enough for them, and they don't realize that it's not just another warranty, that it covers a lot more than the manufacturer defect warranty.
Why do I need this policy? Doesn't it come with a manufacturer's warranty? That's one of the biggest objections that associates told us that customers have. Kim, you deal with the warranties every day.
Every camera comes with a manufacturer's warranty, but the manufacturer's warranty only covers factory defects. Factory defects are things that have failed in the camera because of the way it was made or the materials that it was made from. It doesn't cover anything that happens to the camera. It doesn't cover sand, it doesn't cover impact of any kind, it doesn't cover liquid. And while a customer might feel that those things aren't going to happen to them, everybody drinks water, everybody likes to go on vacation, and even the best of us drop things.
I think the other key word when looking at the warranty is the word limited. I think people need to know what limited warranty really means, and that's where we come in.
I think you're right. A lot of our customers feel that they're not going to need the policy because the manufacturer will cover it. But it is a limited warranty. It's limited to what happened during the manufacturing process. It's not extended to what happens when you take it home.
But the other key to that, I think, also is we need to explain to our customers how our protection plan is different. It is not an extended warranty.
Most of the other dealers for any kind of equipment, whether it's camera or any kinds of electronics, only extend the factory warranty, whether it be for a length of time or maybe as long as 10 years. But that extension of the factory warranty doesn't cover what ours covers. It doesn't cover what happens in everyday life. It doesn't cover the wear and tear. Doesn't cover the damage that can happen just by using a camera the way you intended to use it when you bought it. So our policy actually covers the things that can actually happen to a camera, whereas the stigma of an extended warranty doesn't. It doesn't cover it at all.
Let's take a look at another objection that associates hear quite frequently from customers.
Usually I don't have enough money. Like this last customer I just had, I usually don't get negative answers from people. They tend to say, "Oh, can I think about it?"
It's like it's too much. You know, it's a lot of money for one, say, cheap camera. You know, that's the first objection I hear about other customers.
People just aren't interested in spending more money after they've spent so much on a camera and things like that is the usual responses.
A lot of them say, well, that's going to cost half as much as the camera in the first place.
I think an important point when the customer brings up the cost of the expanded service program is comparing it to the cost of a repair. We really need to show the value of the expanded service program in comparison to a repair cost. What I like to do is lay out 5, 4, 3 in front of the customer. They can see the repair cost right next to the cost of the expanded service program and show them how much less the cost of the expanded service program is going to be as opposed to the cost of getting a camera and a lens repaired.
Another thing that you can do as well is kind of break it down a little bit for the customer. Instead of showing it to them that the whole bulk price that they're paying at one time for it, after you create the value, you can bring it down to, whether it's a couple cents a day or, $1.50 a month or something like that. They can relate to that a little bit more over a long period of time.
And it also goes back, I think, to the idea of showing that our policy is very different from the manufacturer program and that ours covers virtually anything that can happen to the camera. And when you show that to the customer, they'll often realize how much more valuable our plan is.
And a lot of times the cost of a 5-year plan is less than the repair of the camera.
Frequently it is. Most average camera repairs are between $75 and $100, and that's not for cameras that are damaged, and that's not for high-end SLRs. So if they choose not to buy an ESP on a camera that may be $100, their only choice if it's damaged is to replace it. Whereas if they have the expanded service policy, we'll make sure that it's taken care of for them regardless of the cost.
Okay, let's take a look at another objection we've heard from our associates.
The most common objection in this neighborhood is, well, I'll just buy another one because people can't afford these cameras.
I better buy a new one. That's what they say. So I say, well, if you buy, when you buy a new one, you're going to have the same problems. You're going to drop it or anything else going to happen. So you're always going to be spending the money buying a new one instead of buying protection plan that you can drop it many times that you need to. Sometimes you don't realize that you're going to drop it, but by mistake, So they go like, okay, I buy at least 1 year. So I said, well, many years that you buy, you save more money because, you got the 10% off over there. Sometimes that's the way that I get it.
Okay, well, I'll buy a new one. How do you handle a customer that says that?
Well, I think I would say to that customer, do you really want to do that? You've just spent enough time here waiting in line. We've taken 20 to 30 minutes and looking at the camera. You've decided on a great pick here. Why should you want to go through all that trouble again? Let me do that for you. I'll cover it for you.
Another important point, I think, is that the customer is buying the expanded service program for multiple years, then we will take care of that camera for as many years as they purchase the program for. So if they buy a 5-year program, if we need to, we'll replace that camera 10 times in 5 years, or repair that camera 10 times in 5 years.
You do have a comfort zone with the 5-year or even a 1 year. Now, regardless of what happens, you're going to be covered. It's going to be taken care of for the entire term of that contract. And if it's replaced, your contract still covers the new camera.
And I think sometimes the person that says, I'll buy another one, we may perceive as being a person that has enough money to throw around again. But conversely, I think that's the person that truly is frugal with his or her money. And I think if you give them the perceived value of the protection plan, I think you can skirt that objection very easily.
Or the particular model might not be available in a year from now or 2 years from now if you do need to replace it.
That's certainly true, and people do fall in love with their cameras. They like the comfort zone of being able to use it. They know how to use it, and a lot of customers are just not interested in buying a new camera. They want to keep that old one. They like it.
Yeah, that happens all the time. Customers come in, they have a camera, they ask for the same exact thing, and we don't have it anymore, so we have to get something comparable. And a lot of times, they don't like it as much as they like their old one. Sentimental, maybe.
Okay, there was one more objection that we heard from a lot of our associates. Let's take a look.
That my credit card covers it. Some people say that that maybe their credit card covers it or something like that. Those are usually the most common ones.
Well, their Visa or their MasterCard is going to cover this camera. Why should they buy a protection plan?
Do you know anyone that's tried to do that? It's a tremendous amount of red tape. For example, in some companies, you've got to pre-register your equipment before you become eligible for that plan.
And then once you are eligible, if something should happen to your camera, it's not always covered by your credit card. It really only covers defects, so you have to be very careful about what happens to your camera. And should it be defective, you have to get an estimate. You have to get that estimate authorized through your credit card plan. You have to hope that the company that you're working with will accept payment from the credit card plan, or you have to pay up front and go through the whole process of reimbursement paperwork. And most of the credit card companies don't cover damage. Most of them are just extensions of your manufacturer's warranty.
And that's something interesting that we really haven't discussed up to this point, but the convenience of our damage protection plan. If you need a repair, if you have a problem, what do?
Take it to any Ritz Camera across the country, wherever you may be. We have a lot of them, over 800 of them, so basically you take it in and they take care of it. Everything for you. You just drop it off and they call you when it comes back. If you need a loaner, they can give you a loaner.
It's very important for our associates to convey that convenience to the customers. Very often it's not. Our customers, because they're familiar with the way that these credit card warranty extensions work, they perceive that our expanded service program will, number one, have a lot of red tape associated with it, number two, have a deductible. So I think it's very important for our associates to explain to our customers how convenient it is. They bring it in with the policy, they lay it on the counter, and from that point on, we take care of their camera.
Okay, now we know how to handle those objections. Let's go take a look at a sale and see how this all fits together.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm great, how are you?
Pretty good, thanks. Wow, that's a lot of bags you have there. Is there a sale going on?
Yeah, there's a huge clearance sale in the mall. I actually started to do some back-to-school shopping for my kids.
Really? How many kids do you have?
Got 2, my son's 9, my daughter's 7.
Wow, that keeps you busy.
Yeah, between soccer and Boy Scouts and softball, there's just not enough hours in the day.
Wow. Gee, from the looks of that camera, it looks like it's seen better days. Bet that's why you came to see me today, huh?
Well, yeah, it is. I got my husband this camera for Christmas, and he dropped it. Do you know how expensive it is to get one of these things repaired? He loved this camera. It took great pictures, so I need to get a new one.
Actually, I do know how expensive it is to repair a camera. You know, you never plan on dropping it, but it does happen. But you know what? We can fix you up. You know, usually when you do drop a camera, it does mean you have to replace it, but not in all cases.
What do you mean?
Well, you really learned firsthand how an accident can destroy your camera. But you know what? At Ritz Camera, we offer an exclusive 5-year damage protection plan. What this means is we cover manufacturer's defects and any accidents that you might do to the camera. Now, I'm not saying to go out and abuse your camera, but, you know, if you should leave your camera on top of your car accidentally and drive off and it broke, we would fix it. Nobody else would offer that type of protection plan. So maybe now you'd be able to take your camera places that you wouldn't have before. Wouldn't it be great not to have to miss those pictures because you had to leave your camera at home?
It sure would. A 5-year extended warranty? That's got to be really expensive.
Well, first of all, the damage protection plan is not an extended warranty. Our plan covers over and above the manufacturer's warranty. And second of all, it's not expensive. Having to replace a camera because of accidental damage, well, that's expensive.
Tell me about it. I went into this other camera shop, and they told me it would be $140 to repair it. Usually, we're really careful people. We had our old camera for 10 years, and nothing like this ever happened to it.
The cost of the 5-year damage protection plan for the Canon ELPH would normally cost about $154, but by purchasing it today with the camera, you're entitled to a 10% discount. That would make the cost for the 5-year plan just $138.60. And like you just said, that's about the cost of having the camera repaired just one time.
Well, it seems like a really good deal, but like I said, we're normally very careful people. I'm sure we'll never drop this camera again, and I really wasn't planning on spending that much extra.
Let me ask you a question. Do you buy a cup of coffee every day?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
About how much do you pay for a cup?
About $1.
For about half that amount, you can protect your husband's camera for 3 years with our 3-year damage protection plan. The cost of the 3-year plan is only $79.20. It's about 51 cents a day. For 51 cents a day, you have the peace of mind if anything happens to your camera, it's covered. 51 cents is an amazing price for peace of mind, isn't it?
Wow, that really is a great deal, especially when you think about how much it costs to repair these. Tell you what, why don't you give me the 3-year?
Great. Well, we'll get you signed up for a 3-year, and later, if you decide, you can renew that for another 2 years. Let's fill out the form for you. I need to get your name.
Marcy.
Marcy.
Laverne.
The more time you spend behind the counter, the more things you see happen to your customers' equipment. There isn't enough time in the day to think about all the things that can happen. Manufacturer defects, shock or trauma, water or sand damage, effects of exposure to chemicals. The list is endless, and eventually you'll see it. No other company offers their customers the total protection that Ritz Camera does. The key to success is you. If you believe in the plan and see the value in it, your customers will too. Accidents happen. Even the most responsible person in the world can't control everything. In this hectic day and age, you can't place a value on peace of mind. Can you?